All right. Welcome everybody to another episode of Hobby CNC with Dave. How's everybody doing tonight? Mr. Ballard,
Good.
you doing good?
Doing well.
All right. Good deal. Good deal. Got all those little Christmas lights on?
Uh,
Okay. Well, I hope
not
you're not
here again.
working on Turkey Day tomorrow.
Yeah, no.
All right. How about you, Paul? You doing okay tonight?
Doing quite well. Doing a prototype on my Christmas challenge project. So
Okay. All right. Well, good deal. Well, we've got some very special guests. Uh, all the way from the future tonight. So we're not going to dilly dally around tonight. We're going to bring our guests in. We've got on the upper right there we have Jat from he's the CEO and co-founder of Masso, and Jason is to his right, I guess, or his left, depending on how you're looking at it. And then this guy down here in the lower left, we probably remember him. That's our old friend Peter Pasquello from CNC Nuts fame, we'll call it, before he got so busy with Masso. But welcome, guys. So glad to have you on here. Um, I hope we get a lot of questions about the Masso. I know there's been a lot going on since these days. So we'll have lots of questions for you. I know I will. I don't know if the chat will or not, but I'm glad y'all are here. And let's just we'll go around the thing here. And Jat, you want to say anything? Kind of.
Uh, Firstly, thanks for the time. It's great to connect again after all those years. I remember we did a couple of shows together a long time back, and yeah, it's always good to see you guys doing what you're doing, all your projects, things like that, and yeah, now we've got a bigger team. I've got Jason and Peter, obviously, doing more crazy things. It's just not me alone. So yeah, no, just really excited to connect here. So looking forward to this.
Okay. And Jason, what? Tell us a little bit about yourself. This is my first time, I guess, meeting you or talking to you. So
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Look, about myself, look, I started my working career as a motorcycle mechanic. I preferred that because it had a good mix of mechanical and electrical, and that sort of thing. I came into CNC machining and programming through actually motorcycle racing. I wanted to make some parts for my motorbike that I couldn't kind of find, and so that's how that journey began. And through that, I've now met Jatinder and become part of the team here, and have much more experience with, I guess, programming G code and custom scripting and things for the Master controller. Yeah.
okay, very good, very good. Hey Peter, what about you? You want to say anything? I know folks. A lot of us have been watching you a long time. I mean, we
Yes,
know.
yeah. Well, I used to have my own YouTube channel. I still do, I suppose, um, called CNC Nuts. And yeah, a few years ago, Jatinder asked me to if I wanted to join his Masso team. So um, I did, and that's probably what's led to my dropping off the YouTube scene. The fact I've been busy, basically working. In my evenings and then on the weekends, don't really have time anymore to make the videos, unfortunately. But it is actually nice to be on your live stream. I haven't been on one in a few years now, so
Yeah, it's been a while. It's
it
been a
has.
while.
Yeah. Mm.
And I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. You are a perfect fit for the Masso team because you have helped me so much. A lot of times you don't even know you were doing it because I watched your video. But when I was setting up my machine, I built this newer machine last spring, and I was setting it up with the.
Nobody else can see you, Dave. Oh, Dave, you're fading out.
Am I fading out?
There you go. Now
That's
you know.
better. Okay, the mic must have been wonky or something. But yeah, I watched one of your videos and I wanted to make sure I could control my spindle through the Masso, and it just happened that the way it turned out is the video I watched of yours, you were doing the exact same spindle in VFD that I had, and you
Mhm.
really broke it down where even an idiot like me could figure figure it out. So I wired it up exactly to your like your video, crossed my fingers and hit the switch, and didn't let any magic smoke out, and it's been working like a champ ever since. So thank you
Hmm.
so much for that.
Oh, I'm glad those videos are useful.
Yeah,
Trying to
they're
break it down as much as possible.
yeah. More people need to search those out because a lot of them are really uh, beneficial. Even though you might look at the video and it says it was 4 or 5 years ago, a lot of that stuff is still very relevant today. So uh, it works out well. Um, Jat, I have a question. I'm going to throw it to the Masso team, and whoever draws the short straw, I guess, can answer it. But let's talk a little bit about something I guess that you started what 3 or 4 months ago, I think, when you did the Masso controller portfolios, and you kind of breaking it down into the essential, the core, advanced, and most recently the professional. You wanna talk about those a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I also want to just take a moment because, as you were, Peter and Jason were kind of giving the intro, it's also, I think, important to know how we work and, how the whole team came along kind of thing. So obviously, Peter, I was in touch with Peter, most likely watching his videos. I can't even remember, was someone on the forums got us introduced. And then what really, got everyone going in the team was that just like how I was curious to learn how things work, so was Peter in his shed. He's got a day job, but he does other things, but he's always curious building his machines. Same with Jason, I still remember it was COVID time, so we were doing like the interviews online. And next thing I have this guy and we're talking and, about like things. And Jason says, "Oh, by the way, this is what I made, like a motorbike engine or something he was making on the CNC." I saw that. I'm like, "Mate, you got a job. That's it." So it's very important that you connect on that frequency, and that's how we work. And because that gets reflected into, let's say, the massive products or whatever comes out. Now, going back to the question for the portfolio, it has something to do with that too. Uh, Again, my own journey started with, I was just curious to make a machine that meant I needed a decent controller. I had a PC-based system. Again, don't want to say any particular names, but there were things that were going wrong with all those softwares all the time. So I could not machine even, let's say, once a month, because if I would go and try to machine something, there's something wrong with the PC or updates or whatever, right? So being curious, I said, oh, can I build something for myself? And I'd done some work on microcontrollers, again, as a hobby. So I just started off from there. Now coming to, the portfolio thing, with the master controllers, there is this thing because we are not PC based, right? So all the hardware and software we design, manufacture ourselves. That means more like the concept for Apple, where you say, hey, to make good software, you need to have good hardware and your own hardware. That means, initially it does look like for people that, hey, it's going to cost me more, because obviously a lot of people say, oh, maybe I have an old PC, I can install a bit of software on it and make a controller out of it. But there are definitely some issues with that, because PC-based system is not designed to control a CNC, and then if you have issues with updates or driver issues or viruses, then it becomes something else. So we always kind of focused on say, okay, it's just a controller, it's a dedicated piece of hardware with the software that we've built from scratch. only for CNC control. So it's not like, hey, people say I miss, listening to music while machining on my PC, right? But we're like, hey, this is just a CNC control. It's supposed to do that. So what it means is, obviously there are costs involved trying to do those things, and more of our controllers have been seen as you need to be on a certain level on CNC, where you say, okay, now I can get this controller working on my machine, and the machine has to be a certain size and your experience, right? So with the portfolio, what we try to do was that, okay, how can we give someone who's just starting into CNC with those little, 40, 60 routers or any other small CNC router. Again, they are still PC based. So we're like, okay, can we give them an option where they can start off with some basic features? Again, those features are aligned with that particular piece of hardware. So for example, those routers, they generally don't have RPM control. It's just, there's a manual switch or a knob there, right? So we took that out of the software. So the concept is it's the same hardware. We still ship every time you order any of those 4 different portfolio versions, it's the same piece of hardware, but you start down with the basic version of the software. What that means is that with your CNC journey, as you grow, maybe you upgrade that to a VFD spindle, or you go to a bigger CNC. You don't have to then lose your money on the controller. You simply upgrade the software. The hardware is still capable all the way to the last level, and from that the controller is, in a way, that portfolio means that the user and the controller, they can grow together. So as the user is growing in their experience and doing more things with the CNC, the same piece of hardware, it can grow with them. That's the whole concept.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm gonna try to. Well, that doesn't work too well with.
There you go.
That. There we go. We'll try it. We'll do it like this for a while. Yeah. So I think it also makes it a lot easier for people to start out with a Masso, because now that initial sticker shock is not what it used to be, because now they can start out smaller, and like you said, it's a matter of just updating the firmware, which, by the way, is super easy to do. It's I can't believe how easy it is, because even I can do it without messing it up. So that says something right there. But
Well, I like that because you're not paying for stuff you don't need. Like if you don't need everything under the sun, you don't need to buy it. But you get the overall experience of using the controller.
Yeah, and also you're sometimes, even if you have the features, if you're starting off just in CNC, maybe you don't even know how to use those features, right? Maybe on the machine you can't even have those things right now. So for example, I'm just looking at you guys, a lot of 3D printers behind you, all those things, right? So when I got my first 3D printer, one thing I realized is how my brain started changing too, with how I look at design. I would look at something in a very different sense. I'm like, oh, I've got a great tool now. I can now make something very different. So you're evolving with tools. So the same, hopefully, with the portfolio is when you start your journey, you start evolving, you get better ideas, and then you're like, oh, that feature now makes sense to me. So that's the whole idea.
okay, I kind of wanted to go over the features and benefits that I read on your website, and kind of let you guys, like I said, I'll just throw it out there, and whichever one of you wants to answer or talk about it. But let's talk a little bit about the fully integrated hardware and software. I think you've already touched on that some, but this is one of the things that I absolutely love about the Masso is that no PC, no need for a PC, and having built machines and sold kits and stuff like that, and people would always, maybe use Mach 3 or UC, CNC, or something, one of those other softwares that you had to have a, a PC of some kind, either a laptop or something. I've always dealt with, uh, people having problems because they're using a laptop and they forget to turn off all the power saving stuff, which on a laptop, there's a lot of it. And then they wonder why the machine went wonky in the middle of a long run because the laptop went to sleep or something. So I love that part about the Masso is that, well, I don't have it in the shot here, but like right there behind Peter, that's it. That's everything in a nutshell. No PC needed, and it does everything.
Yeah.
I have to say, Dave, one of the things I really enjoy about the Masso and fitting it to any machines is like not needing like a separate breakout board and USB connection and so on. The fact that it's sort of all in one, the sensors connect sort of directly to it. I think that makes it a lot more, like a lot less steps for the connection. And so it makes it, in my mind anyway, easy to draw the wiring diagrams and to understand that series of connections between the sensor and the input on Masso and how that connects. I think that's, for me, that's really powerful, I think.
Yeah. Now, Jad, I'm sure you're probably familiar with the name Travis Mitchell. You know who that is. I have
Yeah.
watched countless videos of him doing retrofits of things, and he always gets the G3 Touch. And that's kind of where I got the idea to use these old BB25 breakout boards. So, and then after I got mine done, that's when I realized that, oh, I could have bought a wiring module. I didn't even know you guys sold those. And then I saw them on the website later. But yeah, that's one of the other great things I like about the Masso is that it's such a clean install because over here on the side of my machine where I have a large box where my drivers and all that is, that's where my wiring is, how shall I say, not not perfectly neat, more bird's nest type stuff. But I've got everything running to one of these, and then of course I have another one of these mounted in the Masso enclosure itself. So there's just that one cable coming up, and that's it. It's just not no big blob of wires hanging off of the Masso controller like I've seen on a lot of other YouTube videos where I guess they haven't figured out that they can really clean that up by getting that wiring module that y'all offer.
Yeah.
But
Also like the design kind of we try to follow a design philosophy here in a way to keep things very simple. Even on the screen, the user interface, how the software has to be installed. How do we make it easy for the user? So it's like we do the hard work rather than say treat everyone as a software engineer, right? You're just a user who wants to machine stuff. We don't want you to first go and learn 20 things to install or run something. Same when we do the software release, we try to sort of even say, let's challenge every pixel on the screen. Do we need to really show this on the screen or not? Because being a screen, you can show whatever, but it can be too confusing for the user. The same goes for the assembly, as you might have seen with your touch controller. Little things like it opens on a hinge, right? So that the screen is not falling. So if you're troubleshooting something, you're like, hey, how do I take care of my screen falling or whatever? You can literally just put it on the side, look on the side, fix something, calibrate something, and put it back. So we always try to do that. Same with our PC, Masso Link app, my workshop. We try to keep it neat and simple so the user just comes in, focuses on what they want to machine. And hopefully we've been, able to do it well.
yeah, and of course, number 3 on my list over here is the cool thing about these is they don't just work with CNC routers. I mean, you run all kinds of stuff with them. You wanna touch on that a little bit?
Peter, you want to go for it? I can talk all day. So, yeah.
Oh, I think you're muted, Peter. Okay, there you go.
There we go. That's better. Okay, yeah. So with Masso, we've got what's called multi-head. So a lot of people might be familiar with that with a multi-spindle setup, where you may have more than one spindle. But it's multi-head. It could be anything. So it could be a plasma torch. It could be a laser, water jet, oxy, a pen, and we have different tool numbers allocated to those particular functions. So to simply, I haven't enabled it in here, uh, but when I go into multi-head here, I can enable, say, plasma there. And now if I want to turn this into a plasma, I just need to change the tool number. So if I go to T112 M6, just like you do with a normal tool change in G-code. Oh, oh. And now I'm on the plasma screen, and it will now function as a plasma.
Yeah, and I can see that being, of course, I'm just a hobbyist and I don't have
Mm-hmm.
any of the other machines, but I can see somebody with the shop really liking that feature because if you have all, say you have a water jet and a laser and, routers and milling machines and stuff like that, you can all set them up with the Masso, like you said, and now you're all familiar with that interface
Yeah.
with all the machines. You don't have to learn something totally different because you go to the water jet after you've been running the milling machine or whatever. So when I was looking on your website and jotting down some notes, I thought, wow, I hadn't even thought about some of that stuff, but that would be really cool uh, for somebody that had a shop that had a lot of different machines.
Yeah.
That would be
So
good.
with the likes of where you might use it, Dave, would be laser. You've probably got some of those LED lasers with
Yeah.
6 7 watts, something like that. So we have a laser setup as well. So and each tool is offset from the other. So you start with maybe your main spindle, and you offset the laser from that. So now you've finished carving your project, or cutting it out, or um, then you change to the laser, and it's automatically offset. So the laser is now sitting over X and Y zero, X, Y, and Z zero, ready to go. You then do the lasering. You might then change back to your spindle and do the final cutout of the project.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. When I read laser, I was thinking more of the industrial lasers, which I'm assuming it would work for that as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so like CO2 lasers, I think they still run like a PWM type output, so they're compatible with Masso controllers as well, which is really impressive. Um, I mean, Dave, some of the more interesting machines I've seen run with Masso controllers. A gentleman reached out to me about a block boring machine. So he bores V8 engines, and so he has to first check and center each bore, and then come back in with a boring bar, and then obviously cut those, and then same thing for the second bank, being able to use his fourth axis to set up for that, which I think is really cool. I've seen wheel machining machine. So you take like an alloy wheel, using the probing cycles in Masso and probing to a file, he can then come along and check the shape of that spoke, and then switch heads and then run that code to reshape a wheel that's been maybe repaired, welded, things like that, which I think is really, really cool. I've seen machines that apply like glue to the back of posters. Gosh, even things like 3D printed houses, I reckon you could do with a Masso. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
really interesting to see.
Yeah. That's
And again, the whole idea with multi-head, as Peter explained, is we try to make it easy for the user, because otherwise, if you have, generally what people do is that if you have the main spindle and simply a laser, because obviously they can't be on top of each other, right? They have to be X and Y on the side, and maybe it's a Z because of the laser focus has to be different. People have to create two separate G-code files. And first you run the first one on the main tool, then load the other one, maybe switch on some signals with switches for the laser kind of thing, because laser also uses the same S command, the one that you use for the RPM control, right? So by doing the tool multi-head thing with us is you only prepare one file. So, you know, you run one file from start to end. That means all the cutting, all the laser is being handled by one piece of file. And that also means the control signals when you're running or cutting on your spindle, the S command is now controlling the RPM of the spindle. But as soon as you change to the laser, the same S command is now changing the power of the laser. So from a user perspective, everything's been taken care of. And that's the whole idea, that, how do we make it easy for them?
Okay. I know one of the things that I really like about my Masso, and it's really one of the things. In fact, I didn't even think I was going to install it because I thought, that's no big deal. But I've never used anything like it. But now I wouldn't be able to live without it, and that's the uh, let's see, Masso Link. I can never remember the name. Masso Link. Just being able to, whether I'm doing, of course, I have this computer set up out here because I do live streams out here from the shop, but I also have another one in my home office, which is at the other end of the house. Well, it makes it nice because I like to do all my programming from the comfort of my office. And, so I'm using my VCar Pro or whatever and get the program all done. And then it's just so easy to drag that thing over and whoop, and it's there. By the time you walk out here, it's already there. So, and like I said, that was the one thing I thought, that's no big deal. I probably won't even use that. And then once I used it, I'm like, holy cow, that's the next best thing since sliced bread. But,
Maybe the next one you should try is the massive phone app. That's the next project for you, maybe.
I have not done that. My thing is I've done some reviews on some of those smaller CNCs, and they've some of them will have the phone app where you can run it from your phone. But when you're an old guy like me and your eyes aren't that good, it's not that big a deal to try to run something off a phone. I'd rather have something bigger that I can see. So
No, sure. No, it's more like, the concept is, again, for all kind of safety reasons, you have to be in front of the machine, those things follow. But at the same time, there are businesses who are doing engraving jobs. They're 20 hours engraving, things like that, right? So sometimes they are running their machines for so long. And, obviously a CNC is to make you money while you're doing other things, right? So a lot of people also use that, and that's the whole idea. It's not about, so for example, all these things like Masso Link and the phone app, you can't control your machine. It's about monitoring, because again, controlling is more of a safety thing. You should not be actually controlling things remotely. But it's like, hey, if you're running an engraving job or something, you can actually have, we have called it a message command. You can have it in your G-code file. So let's say when you're 80% done or something, you have a message command in your G-code file. It'll actually send a message to your phone saying that I'm 80% done, right? Or if there's any other problem on your machine, it's going to send you the alarm. So it's for a different kind of a use case, but that's the whole idea for it.
okay, now that's the what they call the my workshop
Pro app, yes.
Pro app. Okay,
Yes.
well I'll have to play around with that.
And the same is because the app and the My Workshop, and thanks for reminding, I forgot about the My Workshop side, is you can actually monitor your machines in My Workshop account. So, on the PC, so some workshops, they have 5-10 master controllers running production. So you can actually see all 10 machines in front of you, and how much production it's done, if there's an alarm, things like that. So, and the app gives you a similar interface.
Yeah, well I don't do it often, but I have a camera, a security camera mounted directly over my door that goes into the house, and it's pointed right at my machine here. So the only thing I don't like is when I'm in my office, which is at the other end of the house, even though I have that camera where I can just glance to my right and see it on my security screen there and see what it's doing. I really prefer to be able to hear the machine even if I'm not looking at it. I think that's more important
Yeah.
than watching it, because it's too easy to, if you're watching it but there's no sound or it's so faint that you can't hear it, it's too easy to get distracted into whatever other work you're doing. But if you can hear it, uh, you know, you learn, if you've been running these things as long as I have, you can tell when the pitch changes on
Yeah.
something's about to go wrong. So, and then when it gets quiet, then you know it's already gone wrong. So,
Can you use that the app also on tablets and stuff, or is it just for like phones?
Yeah, you can install on any Android or Apple device. So yeah, it
Sweet.
works on all of them.
okay.
Very cool.
All right. And of course, another great feature of the Masso, which again, getting back to the uh, no PC thing, is they fire up so quick. I mean, I've learned that when you're going to change the thing, you got to be quick. If your switch is very far away, because you got to start tapping on that thing so that it'll upload that screen. Yeah, Peter's demonstrating there just how quick that is. That's probably what, 5 seconds or something like that. It's
You probably 10, something like that. Yeah, yeah. You've got 4 seconds to tap that screen if you want to get the load into the load thing. Plenty of time.
There she goes.
Yeah. Well, I have mine plugged into a power strip over here, so when I walk around there to hit it, I have to reach around and start tapping, because if I wait till I walk around, I'm too slow. It's already done. So, but
Dave, the other way to tackle that one, in your F1 setup screen, on the bottom left-hand side, Peter will show us here, we have a reboot option as well. And so you can reboot the controller directly from the controller, and that'll give you that window without having to run across the shop as well. So.
oh, okay. Yeah, well, I knew that reboot was there. I just had never thought of that. That'd be
Yeah, no, it's
good way to
handy
do it.
sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And this time I got rid of the log on request. For those who don't like log on requests, you can get rid
And
of
you
it.
still have the F1 button again if someone needs that, because you can still connect a keyboard and a mouse into the touch controller. So you can have a wireless mouse, wireless keyboard, or a normal keyboard, and then just press F1 as you power up, because that could be then in your hands. So yeah, you can do all different ways.
Okay. All righty. Well, do we have any questions out there in the chat? Everybody's being pretty quiet.
I haven't seen any questions out there.
Looking to see. Jerry. Jerry says, Peter, you look familiar. Actor or something?
Peter, what do you think is the most common issue that people have?
Great question.
I don't know. It's sort of ranges. It's configuration. Some people aren't sure how to set things up, and that's why in the documentation we've sort of gone through and tried to make things as easy. There's quick start guides, so you can. There's a lot of documentation there. I think it's over 1,000 pages now. So, but so there's quick start guide within there, so you can go there and okay, well, I need to do things quickly. I can. It gives me a list of things I should look for initially setting up. Yeah, I don't think there's any one particular each person, spindle setup. And as Dave alluded, there is documentation on how to set up a spindle, step-by-step video on how to do it, and it's just a matter of reading and follow those steps. Homing's another one. You got a dual y-axis on a machine, and sometimes they get those sensors mixed up, and that causes all sorts of strange things because this sensor over here stops the motor over here. So it looks like it works, and then it's not working right. But if they follow the guides we have, the videos we have, and things, it will solve all those problems for them.
I think 3-4 years ago, if you would ask the same question, I would say definitely with VFD, because a lot of people would say, "Hey, my VFD is working. I can change the RPM on the actual VFD, things like that, but on the Masso, nothing's working." And I think that's where we, Peter made that video, because he's like, "I need to clarify this, because in a VFD there are different modes that the VFD actually takes the command in." So a lot of people don't know that you have to actually program your VFD to say, is it going to take the 0 to 10 volts, RS485, or the panel input, because there are now 3 different modes. So I think that was a very common one. The other one, it's more not a question, but I still find these days is a lot of people still don't understand how important homing is, because so many of the machines people still run without homing. And when they talk to us, they're like, "Oh, why do I have to wire up a sensor? Why Masso needs homing all the time?" And we say, homing is critical, because so many features on the controller, your soft limits, your hard limits, your tool changes, your auto tool 0, it needs to know where the machine is, right? Because a lot of people would say, "Okay, I have a machine, I'm going to put a piece of wood here in that corner, I'll make it 0, 0 and start," right? But from a machine's perspective or a controller's perspective, it doesn't know where the head is, right? So if someone asked me what's so important, I would say, no matter even if you're starting out in CNC, it's a basic CNC or not, homing is a must. Definitely spend some time to put in sensors or switches. I would say sensors, again, that's a separate topic, but again, homing is so important. If your switch starts playing up a bit, then you get a bit of an offset, or there are all kinds of problems. But homing, to start with, any kind of CNC, it's so important.
Yeah, I've got a tool setter set up on mine, and I have mine at the front of the machine, kind of kind of towards the left side a little bit, and I also have my Masso set up so that when like if I come out here right now and turn the machine on, first thing when I home it, it's going to home the machine, and then it's immediately going to come to the front and check that tool height, I guess is what it's doing the first time. And I can definitely confirm, and I've heard so many horror stories or seen it in the Facebook groups, that if you forget to home the machine and you've changed the tool when Masso didn't tell you to change the tool, it's not going to turn out well.
Yeah.
So it didn't take me long. I think I did it one time, and I'm like, "Oh, that's right. Masso didn't say, hey, change the tool." I just was changing it ahead of time. And yeah, you have to change that tool. Go ahead and home it again and let it come and do its thing. And if you just follow those simple directions, it works perfect every time.
Yeah. Because if the controller doesn't know where everything is, it can't do its job, right? And that's why even in the F1 screen, I think in the general settings, there are settings, or maybe in the homing settings, that there's an option to sort of say request homing on power up, and I would say everyone should have that on. Because on power up, you don't want to forget to home your machine, and you only need to do it once when you power up. But that's where the controller references itself, and as you said, with the tool height and everything, so it knows exactly what's going on. When you load a job, rather than a surprise and it's hitting something.
Yeah, because that initial measurement you get when you start. That's the reference for all tool changes after that. So if you go and just change a tool willy-nilly, it's that tool measurement is now entirely wrong, and everything is based off of that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is important to sort of just let the machine manage the tools for you, and
Yeah,
then
and I
you'll
I
be right.
know a lot of people, you know, or at least from what I've seen on YouTube videos, they'll try to put their tool setter somewhere near they home the machine, and I get that, but I've always liked to home the machine to the back right. So
Hmm.
that's where I have mine set up, and even now I have a, post processor where I've added the G30 command so that every time it finishes a program, it parks itself not all the way to home, but it's like 5 inches away from the X and Y, and then I forget how high up I have the Z. But then, so it's parked, and then when I come out and turn the machine on for the first time, first thing I do is home it. Well, it doesn't have far to go. It's only got 5 inches back and over,
Hmm.
and it's home. And then it will come up and hit the tool setter. But that's another one of those things that I've seen people use them, and I'm like, I don't think it's that big a deal. But it's one of those things where if you ever put one in and start using it, it's like, oh man, this is great.
Mm.
So I really have, and I didn't buy a fancy one. It's just a cheap one off of Amazon. I think it was $30 or something. So
It
anybody
doesn't
that's
need to be fancy. It can just be a piece of metal, a piece of
Yeah,
aluminium,
yeah.
plate if you
exactly,
want. You just to start out with. Yeah,
And like even we've seen even on lathe machines, right? People would say, "Oh, there's no homing." If on every tool change they would just try to now come and zero the tool because now you got to zero your x-axis in the middle of the chuck, right? That's your zero reference point. And every time you change the tool or you repower up the machine, you got to calculate that. You got to move it to zero, touch it somewhere, and say this is zero, and then measure off from there, whatever, right? And initially, even with some OEMs, I found it funny that they were not using homing sensors, and I was like, how do you guys work? And they're like, oh, this is how every time you do a part, you measure, and I'm like, oh, that's not a CNC. That's nearly a half manual machine kind of thing, right? So
yeah,
that's where it becomes so important because on a lathe, once you have calibrated the tools, the X value is the diameter of the job. And what's the most important thing on the lathe is to get the diameter right, right? So if you're missing out on that, what's the point? So homing is so critical. Like, the tool changes, the calibration of the tools on the lathe, you can't use maybe more than half of the features if you're not homing your machine. You're just moving it in Z and X direction, but you're still missing out. So yeah, anyone listening, anyone starting off, with CNC, please make sure that you have homing set up on your machines. Same with like your 3D printers. They all need to home. They all need to reference.
yeah. And of course, I never used to be big on homing sensors. None of my machines had homing sensors on them until I got my first Masso. Um,
Right. Okay.
but none of them had the feature, the Auto Tool Zero feature. Um, Yeah, yeah. You would have, as you said there before, Jet, that you change the tool, then you have to go manually zero it to the material, and away you go. But now it's just so much easier. You just zero the first tool and just let it do its thing. It'll for those of us with manual spindles, it'll just go off, measure the tool, compare it to the old one, and continue on its merry way. It's just so much easier. And also Massive made the homing sensor install so much easier as well. Uh, you only need a single homing sensor to do your homing, and then once it's homed, that sensor is now your hard limit. So if you traditionally you would sit a sensor on the front of the machine and one on the back of the axis, so you got three axes there, so that's six sensors. Well, now you only need one sensor per axis, so that's three sensors. And if you put the sensor on the moving carriage, you can put what triggers the sensor at each end. So
Yeah,
now
just
from
for a
home,
block or something.
yeah, and then just a little metal block if you got a inductive or switch sensor, or if you got a light sensor. You just put whatever triggers it at each end, and now you what that one sensor does everything for you. So it makes wiring so much easier as well.
Yeah, I just have the one on each axis for mine. And like I
Mm,
said, like you said, if once it homes, it knows how far it can come forward before it's going to hit. So
mm.
it just comes and stops right there at my soft limits, and that's it. So
Yep.
makes it really easy to do.
Dave, you mentioned about, I guess, manually changing your tools and so on. Having a manual tool change location set up. Have you got that active on your machine now?
Where it goes to the certain spot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I have all that set up. In fact, like I said, my well, let me. I'll just show you real quick here. Of course, you can see it's at the parked position now, and of course, it homes a little bit farther there. But right here, I bought one of those tool setters that's I don't know about yay high, but I
Resets today.
right here there's steel channels that run here. Well, there's a gap in between these two steel channels, so that's why I picked this location because I used the spindle to make a hole all the way through the MDF and the 3/4 plywood, and brought this up underneath, so I've got it where it's flush. And so when I home the machine, it will come up and touch here, and then when it gets ready to do a tool change, it'll come. I think I currently have it set here. I used to have it in the middle, and I found out that this was always getting in my way. So I moved where I changed the tool right here. And then, of course, when I get done changing the tool, it only has to come here to touch off, and then off it goes back on the next tool path.
I've always really liked that. It gives a bit of compliance with when to change a tool. As you pointed out, if you change it before you're asked, then can cause some dramas or whatever. But having that change location, you come to understand almost like a Pavlovian response, right? That if the machine's stopped in that spot, then we're allowed to change the tool. I think that's
Right, right. Yeah, that does help you kind of remember that because a lot of times you might have already changed it, but so you just all you have to do is hit cycle start again, and it takes off and moves over and touches. But yeah, if it doesn't come to that spot, it's like, uh-oh, it was supposed to come to that spot and
yeah.
it didn't. So yeah, that's another little helpful reminder there.
And if you have the manual tool change set up, again, on the phone app, it sends you a message every time there's a
Oh,
tool
yeah.
change required. So you get a message on your phone that you need to do a tool change. So, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm definitely going to play around with that app a little bit. Not that I really need to do remote monitoring, because usually if my machine is running, like I said, I like to be able to hear it. So even if I've got my back turned, maybe I'm out in the driveway sanding something or whatever. I like to be able to hear the machine even more than just watch it.
Mm.
I've never been one of those guys that some guys say, "Well, I've been running it for years, and I still love to just sit there and watch it." And I'm like, "No, it's not making any money if you're sitting there watching it. I mean, it's making you money, but it can make you a lot more if you're doing something else while it's running." So, um,
And in some situations, maybe you got 5 or 10 machines next to each other, and you can't be in front of all of them, right, at all the time. So having something centralized sometimes helps, because you could be on your PC, you can open the My Workshop web interface, and on one side of the screen, just watch all the 5 or 10 machines in real time. What's going on.
well, my old job back when I used to have a real job, uh, I was always in an office, and I was designing in SolidWorks, and because we were a job shop, so I was always drawing customer parts or whatever they wanted made, and we used some, and again, we had all kinds of, we had one software to program lasers, we had another kind of software to program uh, turret machines and what have you. But anyway, I could see how it would be really nice to be able to have that Masso link and have all the machines out in the shop on Massos, and then be able to sit there and see what the progress is. And then the operator really wouldn't even have to come into the office because, back then, everybody, the operator would bring you the little thumb drive and you tote, tote programs around with that. But I can see how that would be a real advantage for a shop that had a lot of machines set up with that Masso link. Would make it super easy to do things.
Yeah.
It's interesting, Dave, that you've mentioned like the sound of the machine being something that you monitor particularly. And you're right, like even for my own machine, if I'm trying a new cutter, of course, like keep an ear out for what it sounds like. I've been wondering, right, so with the new custom scripting using Lua, we now have access to monitoring the analog inputs on the Masso controller that haven't been sort of accessible before. And I've been wondering if it's possible to build like a microphone circuit that feeds into the analog input and then have the Lua monitor and send a message to your phone.
Yeah.
I can see the wheels turning in Jat's head.
So if the volume maybe drops or right, like like calibrate your sort of standard partway into your program, and then if the volume greatly rises or falls, then it sends you a hey, maybe you need to check on your machine. I don't know, maybe.
These days, like all kinds of AI, maybe you can send that vibration data to an AI.
Yeah.
And the AI keeps an eye. If the vibrations are now odd, it says, hey, something wrong,
Yeah, but then it would throw an extra arm into it somewhere.
Say that one again.
I said it would put the AI would put like an extra arm, like they do in a lot of pictures. Give me a dinosaur; it's got like 7 arms hanging out the side of it.
Yeah. I tell you what, even like exactly what you're saying, using like AI to monitor the sound of your machine for bearing noise and other like motor noises and things like that, it's possible, I think.
Yeah.
But you're right. I do wonder if you'd end up with like some kind of weird anomaly in your feedback. As you say, maybe the machine ends up with an extra arm that you weren't expecting.
Yeah. Well, like with some of the AI feedback that they're doing, like with 3D printers and stuff like that, hopefully it gets better. But like you'll get false positives and all that on spaghetti or errors that are happening. But it's better than having an actual problem.
Yeah.
Just a little delay.
Yeah.
So what's obviously the G3 Touch is the flagship for Masso and it's going to be for a long time. What's the next new addition to the Masso G3 Touch that we can look forward to? Is there something that you can let us know about?
Sure. So first of all, the G3, obviously, Gen 3, whatever you want to call it. When we try to design this, again, as we said, we do our own hardware design and make it ourselves, but we still see ourselves as more of a software company because that's where the most value comes in. But again, to have that quality and consistency in every controller, we are doing hardware. But at the same time, we want to keep on adding more value for the user. So the G3 is our long-term platform. So, we will be supporting this for a very long time. In fact, at this point, we don't even have any discussions of a G4 or anything. The whole idea is we just keep on improving the software in it. 2026, we have quite a few things coming on the software side. So right now we've been running version 5 of the software, 5.12, 13s and so on. We'll be moving on to version 6. They'll have quite a few changes and more features added to it. We will be also looking into what we've been trying to build is more on the cloud services side of things, where people want to, let's say, manage, G codes on the cloud, manage production on the cloud. Because what's happened is, as I said, the whole master journey started as trying to make a controller for myself, right? Then it went out to the hobby people and then to small businesses, and now it's going more high end. So the demands are changing. Recently, we released a software update with Lua. So that's where you can custom, add custom coding or scripting and customize your controller to do other things, beyond the normal use. So generally, a CNC controller is just taken as the motion side of things, right? We're also now adding a logic layer to it, so the user can add their own logic on top of that decision making. So it could be, for example, we added support for printers, so you can actually connect your label printer or even a laser printer to the Masso now and print stuff off, right? Someone might say, okay, what are you going to print from it? But if you look at from someone's running a cabinet making business, right? So they generally put in a piece of material, and now they want to cut in maybe 20 different parts. After you've cut the parts, they might look very similar, but they are actually different. The handles might be at a different location, or they might be small or whatever. So the high-end machines, what they do is that they first come and put labels on each location, and then they start cutting. So right now that process is super complex. You need a separate machine, a separate controller, PC, just to connect the label printer, and it's a nightmare. With Masso and Lua and cloud services, what we are trying to do is imagine all that can be now put together in the G-code file. So the G-code file, it will have obviously the motion information, that's your G-code, but also your logic information with some Lua code. So you can pass on in one file. When you load the file, when someone's starting and doing that production, it maybe shows on the screen, says, hey, grab a 20 mil brown color sheet, right? And when you load the sheet on the machine, the grains have to be on the y-axis, because maybe you have to align the grains as part of your cabinet design, right? And then you can obviously have information about the labels, the name of the client, the purchase order, who did the machining that day, what time it was done. Now, it's all part of the logic layer. That means the user can decide that at the end of the job, if they have another Lua script that, again, the user makes themselves, depending on what they want, it will just print a small label that you can stick on the job, say, hey, this guy made this piece on this date, it took it 2 hours to make, and here's the purchase order number. You can make QR codes on the fly in real time. So all that integration is, I think, is going to be the next big thing. And that'll also bring things like in your My Workshop account, you can then back up your controller settings. You can restore your controller settings. You can do remote support. If you're an OEM or an integrator, if one of your clients are having some issues, you can remotely log into their controller and give support. So it's more, again, trying to simplify things for the user and integrate more things that they need. Again, QR scanners. Yeah, quite a bit on the integration side. Yeah.
Yeah, because you can now add a QR scanner to your Masso at the moment, and you can have your G-code file. Just push the button and it'll load the G-code file for you. I haven't got this one connected, but
so this is already supported. What Peter's showing.
Supported. Yes, you can do that.
Yeah,
for
you. So yes, same thing that people would say. Again, cabinet shop example that we have maybe 100, 200, 500 G-code files on the pen drive, right? And we want to make a certain model, but you can end up loading the wrong G-code file because, imagine managing 500 different designs. So someone can, by mistake, machine something else. So with the QR codes, again, it's part of Masso Link. I don't know if Dave, if you looked on, I think the bottom left, you'll see a little QR thing. So you can actually create QR codes from MesoLink and put that in your job sheet. So when you actually tell someone to machine a part, they get a job sheet and they just scan that, and that G code is then loaded from the pen drive. So there's no chance of loading the wrong file. And we want to take this beyond this with the cloud services, saying that if someone's designing that part in the office, and he can maybe just send a QR on a WhatsApp to the guy downstairs, right? He scans that. Now, if this file is not on the controller, it's automatically going to pull that file from the server and then start machining. The similar thing we will also try to do is to manage your tools. So you can actually have QR codes on your tools. So as you're putting your tool in, you can just scan with your QR scanner. Master can then log in how many hours this tool has done. If you say, hey, it's a 1,000-hour tool, once it's done 900 hours or whatever, it'll give you an alarm. So all that, again, just slightly trying to go beyond just the control stuff. It's like, hey, to machine something, the user needs to manage another 20 things, right? So what are those things that we can help with?
Very cool.
Excellent. Yeah. All right, we've run over an hour here, and I don't want to keep you guys too long. Like I said, I know you're working, and we're just here, me and Paul and Ryan, just here goofing off. But I got one more question for you, if you got time to answer. You know, a lot of the talk, even in the hobby CNC discussions now, is all about auto tool changers, the ATC. Now, I know that there are a few oddballs out there that don't do it the traditional way, but let's just forget about that one and talk about the different automatic tool changers that all made by different companies that basically use the same traditional method. You know, it's all pneumatic. It has a spindle that'll grip the tool holder and all that. Now, what is the degree of difficulty on setting something like up? Now, I'm probably not going to do it because I don't, you know, like I said, I'm just a hobby guy. I don't really need something like that. But if I wanted to set something up that had like 6 tools and it was one of those pneumatic things, and you know, yeah, it's going to cost me a pretty good chunk of change. But if I wanted to go crazy and get that, what's the degree of difficulty in setting one of those things up with the Masso? Is it different for each company's brand, or is it all pretty much the same as long as it's the same pneumatic style tool changer?
Probably Jason
Sure
question. I
thing,
think
yeah.
Jason's,
I'm eager
Jason's
to talk
always
about it.
excited about tool changes. So I was looking at him. I'm like, yeah, he'll be more than happy. So
As part of my background, Dave, with the mechanical side of things, I really enjoy the way that tool changes are sort of put together. I really appreciate that it's sort of 2 parts, right? You've got the spindle and the logic sort of for that, and then the tool changer itself. We've been able to, I guess, gather together so that, you know, essentially any spindle that's compatible will be compatible with Masso. And in that case, it is just a matter of mapping the inputs and outputs for that, and then routing them to your Masso, setting up the setting. If you've got like a picking style tool changer, you will jog your machine to the appropriate location, note down the machine coordinates for that location, and then enter that into the tool changer like pocket setting. After that, you'll be able to assign your tools to the pockets, and then your machine will know, yeah, where your tool is to collect it. As I guess the juxtaposition of that, like what's the alternative? Traditionally, to write a macro for that sort of thing, you would have then had to work out in your mind the logic and the process and step by step to make that change, and also to work out what would happen if it wasn't successful, right? Because all of that logic is taken care of in the Masso, all we need to know is where's the tool, and which way do we want to collect it, if it's like a slide-in type or a drop-down type, which means that it's consistent, repeatable, reliable, and you're able to use that same sort of thing when talking to someone else. If you're talking to someone with a similar machine, it becomes very easy to transition that tool changer style to that new machine, I think. Yeah. We do also have the ability and through custom scripting to take care of some oddball machines, and that's sort of in, I guess, Mr. Ryan, you talked about upcoming features and availability. We can see that custom tool changes for those one-offs will be in the near future then as well.
Because some tool changes are very kind of custom and where they need a different kind of mechanics or logic. So that's where the custom Lua script is for them, where we create a platform and we document everything, and they create their own tool changer logic. Because again, we can't add logic for every tool changer. What we've done is all the common ones we've tried to add them to the controller. The rest we've just created a platform for the users to add that themselves.
I see. Okay. All right.
Sweet.
Very good. All right. Well, we're like I said, we're about an hour and 10 minutes here, so I guess we'll get ready to get off of here and let you guys go. I can't thank you enough for coming on here. I've really enjoyed. Well, for one, seeing y'all again and meeting Jason and getting a lot of the questions about the Masso answered here. So thank you all very much for coming.
Thank you. And when he said the time's over, I was like, oh, that's quick. So definitely we had fun here. So no, thank you very much.
All right. Well, I guess we'll get out of here then. Of course, tomorrow is our Thanksgiving Day, so I hope everybody out there in the chat has a happy Thanksgiving. Don't eat too much.
To you guys, hopefully you have a continuously good Thursday.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, they're already into it.
They're on Thursday. Yeah.
Tomorrow's Friday.
Yeah. But anyway, I can't thank you guys enough. I know it's a little difficult maybe to do these live streams because of the huge time difference. Because I think we said 8 p.m. Eastern my time is lunchtime. I think and at noon or something for you there in Sydney. And I'm not sure about Peter. I don't know.
It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon now.
Okay. Yeah. So, but anyway, I appreciate you guys coming on here. And
thank you. Thank you. I think I can't thank you enough. Even earlier, as I said, it's all about like the community. That's how I think we all started. We want to be still part of it, even though we want to spend more time in our little den and then doing whatever we want to do. But yeah, we enjoyed this. No, thank you for this opportunity.
Okay. Well, I hope y'all will come back when you have something new coming out, and
sure,
we'll talk about that. All right, Mr. Paul, you got any final words for us, buddy?
No, just have a happy Thanksgiving and have a happy Friday in Australia and New Zealand. And just if you hear anything that could help us in the future, let us know, will you?
Yeah, like lottery numbers or something.
Yeah, lottery numbers. How the market's doing, anything good. Yeah. But it's been interesting. I've learned a lot tonight. I appreciate your being on here.
All right. Thank you. All right. How about you, Ryan? You got anything going on?
Yeah, we got the Ranger CNC Christmas Challenge getting ready to start in just over 24 hours. So if you want to do a project to play along with that, go ahead and do that. If not, we'll be talking about it more on Saturday night. And Jack, I got to tell you, Dave has been wanting the G3 Touch for a long time. And like after he got out the G2 back out again, he was like, "Man, I really want to get that G3. I want that. I need to get that in my life." So he's a great great guy to have one of those. So
And let me just say,
He gears us all up about
Let
them.
me just say, this thing still rocks.
Hell yeah, it does.
It's not as nice as the G3, but this thing will still do it. I ain't kidding you.
Yeah. So
So glad, so glad. Yeah,
it's an awesome product, so, for sure.
Yeah,
thank
it
you.
sure is. All right, well, let's get out of here, guys. And thanks again for coming. Thanks for everybody for tuning in tonight. And we will be back next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And we will see y'all there. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Happy Thursday.